Habang nasa manufacturing cost tayo, mas mainam na i-discuss na rin natin yung product costing. So, under product costing, there are two costing procedures. 1, job order costing, and 2, process costing. Let's define first job order costing. It is a costing procedure where cost is accumulated by product or job. It is applied for the manufacture of products that are physically identifiable or are heterogeneous. What about process costing? It is a costing procedure where cost is accumulated by departments or processes. It is adapted for products manufactured under continuous processing so that they are not distinguishable from one another or are homogeneous. Para mas maging malinaw yung pagkakaiba ng dalawang costing procedure, i-differentiate natin siya by categories. So first one, nature of products. Si job order costing, ina-apply siya dun sa mga heterogeneous product. Ano ibig sabihin ng heterogeneous? Yung specifications ng bawat product, unique siya. So, iba-iba sila ng characteristics. What about process costing? Ang nature naman ng products under process costing is homogeneous. Pare-pareho sila ng specifications and characteristics. Bigay tayo ng example. So, example ng products kung saan job order costing ang ina-apply. Under job order costing, mga sasakyan. So, automobiles. Ano pa? Houses. Another example, boats. And piano. What about process costing? Example ng mga products kung saan process costing ina-apply. Production ng Beverages. Mga alcohol beverages. Ano pa? Another example, floor o arena. Chemicals. And minerals. Second category, cost accumulation. Under job order costing, cost is accumulated by job orders. Sa process costing naman, yan ay by departments or processes. Third category, reporting. Under job order costing, yan ay by job orders din. Under process costing, yan ay by departments or processes. Fourth one, when is unit cost computed? Under job order costing, yan ay upon completion. Under process costing naman, yan ay end of costing period, which is usually a month. Fifth category, unit cost computation. Sa job order costing, ang formula for unit cost is production cost per job divided by number of units. Under naman ng process costing, yan ay departmental cost divided by equivalent units of production. Ano yung sinasabi natin na equivalent units of production? Yun ay tumutukoy dun sa volume ng work done considering yung stage ng completion. And lastly, subsidiary record for work in process. Under job order costing, yan ay by job order cost sheets. Under naman ng process costing, yan ay by cost of production reports. Or, tinatawag din natin tong departmental cost sheets. Naunada na tayo sa pag-define ng dalawang costing procedures. Let us go naman dun sa accounting ng manufacturing cost. So, generally, this is how you do the accounting for manufacturing costs. Itong nakikita ninyo na letter T, yung anim, ang tawag sa mga yan is T account. Ang T account, ginagamit mo siya to analyze the increase and decrease sa particular account. And under nga ng cost accounting, ito yung generally mga accounts na related for accounting of manufacturing costs. Number 1, raw materials, inventory. Work in process, inventory. Finished goods, inventory. Ano pa? Manufacturing overhead. Salaries and wages payable. And cost of goods sold. So, kailan mo gagamitin yung bawat accounts na to? Unahin muna natin yung raw materials. Si raw materials, it would be debited. Debited for the cost of purchase of both direct materials and indirect materials. What about yung credit side ng raw materials inventory? Si raw materials inventory, credited naman siya for direct materials added in work in process. Maliban dyan, credited din siya for indirect materials added in manufacturing overhead. What about work in process inventory? Debited siya for debited for direct materials direct labor and applied manufacturing overhead. What about yung kanyang credit side? Ang work in process inventory, credited siya for the cost of goods manufactured. Yung cost of goods manufactured na credit sa work in process inventory, malilipat naman siya sa finished goods inventory. So, sa finished goods inventory, debited siya for the cost of goods manufactured. What about yung kanyang credit side? Siya naman ay credited for the cost of goods sold. What about manufacturing overhead? Siya naman ay debited for the actual factory overhead. And credited naman siya for the applied factory overhead. And at the end of the month, i-determine mo yung kanyang balance. If siya ay debit balance, if at the end of the month, the account has debit balance, meaning yung actual factory overhead is greater than applied factory overhead, there would be there is under applied factory overhead. Paano naman kapag credit balance? Ibig sabihin, mas malaki yung applied factory overhead kumpara sa actual factory overhead. So, if at the end of the month, the account has credit balance, there is over-applied factory overhead. Meaning, mas malaki yung applied factory overhead kumpara sa actual factory overhead. What about salaries and wages payable? Siya naman ay credited for the salaries of factory workers aside dyan, factory, selling, and administrative or office workers. Debited naman siya for the salaries paid. So, yung credit sa salaries and wages payable, pagdating sa salaries of factory workers, it includes direct and indirect labor. And lastly, cost of goods sold. Siya naman ay debited for the cost of finished goods sold. So before tayo pumunta sa mga examples, balikan muna natin itong accounting equation. So assets equals liabilities plus equity. Every transaction na accountable na may encounter ninyo, lahat sila mag-a-adhere sa equation na to. Assets being on the left side of the equation, liabilities and equity on the right side. And ano bang connection ng equation na to sa isang journal entry? So, ang isang journal entry is consists of a date, account titles, and the debits and credits. Kapag ang isang journal entry is consists of one debit and one credit, ang tawag mo doon ay isang simple journal entry. What about pag marami siyang debits or marami siyang credits? Ang tawag naman doon is a compound journal entry. So going back dito sa accounting equation. Kailan mo gagamitin ang isang debit or ang isang credit sa isang journal entry? Ibabase mo siya kung saan nakapwesto yung element sa equation. Example. For assets is on the left side. Kung ang debit ay ang left side ng isang entry, and ang credit is ang right side ng isang entry, nasaan ang increase ng asset? Nasa debit ba siya o nasa credit? Since assets is on the left side, ang increase niya ay nasa debit. So, debit and credit. Ang increase ng asset is on the debit side of the account. Ano naman yung kanyang decrease? Ang decrease naman niya nasa credit side ng account. This account na ginagamit natin na letter T, ang tawag dito ay T account. Isa siyang simple tool na ginagamit ng isang accountant para i-analyze yung increase or decrease ng particular na account. Paano naman yung liabilities? Si liabilities, nasa right side siya ng equation. So, nasaan naman ang kanyang increase? Debit ba or credit? Nasa credit, since siya ay nasa right side ng equation. Saan naman magre-reflect yung decrease sa liabilities? Yun naman ay sa kanyang left side, which is debit. So let's apply the same principle sa equity. Sa equity, nasa right side siya ng equation. So nasaan mapupunta ang kanyang increase? Debit ba or credit? That would be on the credit side. So for equity, ang increase niya is on the credit side. Saan naman ang decrease niya? Yun naman ay sa debit side ng kanyang account. Paano naman si income saka si expense? Kasi pag tinignan mo itong accounting equation, hindi mo siya makita dito. Paano yung magiging treatment mo sa kanya? Pareho ba ng assets or ng liabilities or kapareho ng sa equity? Para malaman natin, define muna natin ulit si income saka si expense. So, income. Si income ay increase in economic benefits that results in increase in owner's equity other than investment of the owner. So, income. Increase sa economic benefits na magre-resulta sa increase sa equity, maliban sa investment ng may-ari. So, si income, it directly affects the equity. In that case, ang magiging treatment mo sa kanya is parang kagaya ng equity. So, since si equity nasa right side, and ang increase sa kanya ay sa credit side, ang decrease naman ay sa debit side, paano naman si income? So, same sa treatment sa equity. Ang increase sa income, recorded siya sa credit side. Ang decrease naman sa income, recorded siya sa debit side. Paano naman si expense? So, define muna natin ulit si expense. Kung si expense ay opposite ng income, mula dun sa definition ng income, may infer mo na doon yung definition ng expense. Kung si income ay increase in economic benefits, si expense naman ay decrease in economic benefits. Kung si income ay magre-resulta sa increase ng equity, paano naman si expense? Siya naman ay decrease in owner's equity. So, decrease in economic benefits that results to decrease in owner's equity other than withdrawals by the owner. So, expense. Decrease sa economic benefits na magre-resulta sa decrease ng owner's equity maliban sa withdrawals ng owner. Balikan natin yung mga key accounts. If expense directly affects equity, pero yung effect niya na yun is opposite ng income. Saan ang magiging increase or decrease ni expense? Gawin mo, mag-refer ka lang sa income, pero dapat opposite. Kabaliktaran. Kung ang increase sa income ay nasa credit side, saan naman ang increase ng expense? Yun naman ay sa debit side. Kung ang decrease sa income is on the debit side, saan naman na ang decrease ng expense? Yun naman ay sa credit side. For example, let us answer problem number 1. Jade Company is a manufacturing firm that uses job order costing. On January 1, the beginning balances were as follows. Raw materials inventory 150,000, work in process inventory 100,000, and finished goods inventory 200,000. The company applies overhead costs to jobs on the basis of machine hours. For the current year, the company estimated that it would work 50,000 machine hours and incur 3 million in manufacturing overhead costs. The following transactions were recorded for the year. So we are given the transactions until January 29. So what are the requirements? Number 1, prepare journal entries to record the transactions. 2, post the entries to the T accounts. Do not forget to enter the beginning balances in the inventory accounts. 3, determine whether the manufacturing overhead was under-applied or over-applied during the year. Then make journal entry to close it to cost of goods sold. And lastly, prepare an income statement. Simulan muna natin i-set up yung mga beginning balances ng inventories. So first one, raw materials inventory. Mag-assign din tayo ng account number. 101. Next account, 102. Work in process inventory. Next, 103. Finished goods inventory. So for raw materials, January 1, the beginning balance was 150,000. For work in process, sa January 1, 100,000. Finished goods, 200,000. Then let's start doing the journal entries for each dates. First one, on January 2, raw materials were purchased on account amounting to 3 million pesos. So let's write the date. 2021, January 2. So, nag-purchase tayo ng raw materials meaning nag-increase yung asset. Kung nag-increase yung asset, ang corresponding entry para sa increase would be a debit. So, debit raw materials inventory amounting to 3 million. Aside from that, sa transaction, yung raw materials na to, binili siya on account or on credit. So, nag-increase ang ating liability. Ang increase sa liability is recorded on the credit side. So, credit accounts payable. 3 million. Pagkatapos ng journal entry, mas maigi kung i-post na rin natin siya kaagad sa the accounts para di mo na siya makalimutan or makaligtaan. So, 3 million, post natin siya under raw materials. So, January 2, 3 million. Pagkatapos mo siyang i-post sa the account, lagay mo yung reference, which is yung account number ng account. So, for raw materials, that is 101. So, 101. Accounts payable, wala pa tayong nasa-set na account. So, dagdagan natin yung key accounts. Accounts payable. Liabilities siya, so mag-start tayo sa account number 201. And then, post natin yung entry sa credit side. Since credit yung accounts payable sa journal entry. So, January 2 equal sa 3 million. After posting, lagay mo yung reference number. That is 201. Don't forget to write an explanation or description. To record purchase of raw materials. Raw materials. So we're done with the first transaction. Let's proceed to the next. January 3. Let's read. On January 3, raw materials were requisitioned for use in production. So ito na yung kinuha na yung materials mula sa warehouse for use in production. Ang amount is 2 million, of which 1,500,000 are direct materials and 500,000 are indirect materials. Sa dalawang account, yung related dito. One is yung raw materials. 2 is yung work in process inventory. So from raw materials, malilipat siya sa work in process. But, mag-a-apply lang yon dun sa direct materials. Kasi yung indirect materials, mapupunta muna siya sa manufacturing overhead. So, mag-set up tayo ng another account, manufacturing overhead. Mag-assign tayo ng account number 301. Ano yung magiging entry natin? Sa una, madadagdagan yung work in process inventory mo. Ang work in process, under siya ng assets. So, ang increase sa kanya nasa debit side. So, entry. Debit work in process, inventory, amounting to 1,500,000. Corresponding dun sa direct materials na ni-requisition. Ano pa yung debit natin? Yung manufacturing overhead. So, debit manufacturing overhead. Amounting to 500,000. Bakit siya debit? Yung manufacturing overhead, you can consider it as if it's either an asset or an expense. Asset kasi inventoryable siya. Later on kasi mapupunta siya sa work in process inventory. So, if i-treat mo siya like an asset dahil nga inventoryable siya, ang increase sa manufacturing overhead nasa debit side. Ang decrease naman nasa credit side. Since nag-increase siya, kaya natin siya dinebit. Ano naman yung ating credit? Yung nabawasan, which is raw materials. Ang decrease sa asset nasa credit side. So, credit raw materials inventory. Magkano siya? Yan ay 2 million. 1,500,000 na direct materials plus 500,000 na indirect materials. Then, lagyan natin ng description. To record materials requisition for production. After natin gawin yung journal entry, wag mo siyang kalimutang i-post sa T-account. Sa una muna, work in process. So, debit side, nagkaroon ng debit sa work in process. Ang date is January 3. Amounting to 1,500,000. Meron din sa manufacturing overhead. But before that, lagay na natin yung reference number since na-post na natin. Ang reference number ng working process ay 102. Manufacturing overhead naman merong debit. So, January 3. 500,000. After mo siyang ma-post, lagay mo yung reference number which is 301. Mas maigi kung iwa 104 na lang natin. Kasi si manufacturing overhead, siya ay inventoryable na cost. So, mapupunta siya ultimately sa work in process inventory. So, 104. Then, raw materials, nagkaroon ng credit. January 3, amounting to 2 million. We're done with January 3 transaction. Let's proceed to the next. January 5. The following costs were incurred for employee services. Direct labor, 800,000. Indirect labor, 1 million. Sales commission, 600,000. And administrative salaries, 1,500,000. So, sa transaction, meron tayong direct labor which is mapupunta sa work in process. Indirect labor which is mapupunta sa manufacturing overhead. And then, meron tayong tinatawag na period cost. Siya yung cost na once you incurred it, you will record it as expense. Sales commission saka administrative salaries. So, record natin. January 5. Una muna yung direct labor, mapupunta siya sa work in process inventory. Amounting to 800,000. Next, yung indirect labor, under yan ng manufacturing overhead. So, debit manufacturing overhead, 1 million. And then, meron ding sales commission expense. So, debit sales commission expense. Since ang increase sa expense is on the debit side, i-entry mo siya dito as debit sales commission expense. Amounting to 600,000. So, same treatment sa administrative salaries expense. Ang debit niya is para sa increase. So, debit administrative salaries expense. 1,500,000. Ano yung mga credit? Lahat ito tumutukoy sa salaries ng employees. So, yan ay salaries and wages payable. Total natin, 800,000 plus 1 million plus 600,000 plus 1,500,000. 3,900,000. And then, simulan na natin i-post. Una muna, work in process inventory. So, nagkaroon na naman ng another debit sa January 5. Amounting to 800,000. After nating i-post, lagay natin yung account number. Manufacturing overhead, debit, January 5, 1 million. Then, lagay natin yung account number, 104. Sales commission expense, wala pa tayong nasa-set up na sales commission. So, lagyan natin. Sales commission expense. Account number 301, sorry. 301. Lagyan na rin natin ng the account for administrative salaries. So, 302. Let's post the entry. merong debit sa sales commission on January 5 amounting to 600,000. Then si administrative expense January 5 1,500,000. And then meron pang credit sa salaries and wages payable. Ang liabilities natin nag-start sa 201. So si salaries and wages payable, ang account number niya na is 202. Then don't forget to write the reference number. So for sales commission, that is 301. Administrative salaries, that is 302. For salaries and wages payable, that is 202. Then we add a description. To record salaries of employees. Next transaction, January 7. Sales travel costs were 50,000 pesos. So on January 7, meron tayong expense, increase sa expense on the debit side. So sales, debit sales, travel, expense, amounting to 50,000. We'll assume na lahat ng expenditures niya on account. Utang muna. So, credit natin yung accounts payable. 50,000. Then, do not forget to write description. To record travel expenses of sales personnel. Once you're done with the journal entry, i-post mo na siya sa T-account. So, sales travel expense, wala pa tayong nasa-setup na ganong T-account. So, dagdagan natin. Following yung account number for expenses, ito ay magiging 303 na. So, 303. Wait. Di pa natin na post yung entry. On January 7, merong debit sa sales travel expense na 50,000. Once we're done, lagay na natin yung account number sa reference column. 303. And then si accounts payable on January 7, meron siyang credit. 50,000. Then yung reference, 201. January 10, utility costs in the factory were 500,000. So, related siya sa factory. In other words, this is a manufacturing cost. And under siya ng ano? That is manufacturing overhead. So, our entry would be debit manufacturing overhead amounting to 500,000. Credit accounts payable. 500,000. i-post natin. Manufacturing overhead on January 10, merong 500,000 na debit. Si accounts payable on January 10, meron siyang credit. 500,000. Then, don't forget na ilagay mo yung reference, which is yung kanilang account number. For manufacturing overhead, yan ay 104, and then for accounts payable, that is 201. Let's write description to record factory utilities. Next transaction, January 11. January 11, advertising cost was 20,000. Ang advertising cost is a selling expense. So, siya ay considered as period cost. Ang period cost, expense siya outright. Once you incur it, you'll record it as expense. So, debit advertising expense 20,000. Credit accounts payable 20,000. Let's write a description to record advertising expense. And then let's post the entry in the T account. For advertising expense, wala pa siyang T account. Mag-create tayo. And then following yung account number for expenses, sa advertising, siya ay 304 na. And then let's post on January 11. Advertising has a debit of 20,000. Write natin yung account number as reference, 304. Then accounts payable on January 11, 20,000. Then yung reference, 201. Following transaction on January 13. On January 13, factory repairs during the year amounted to 10,000. So ito ay manufacturing costs. Ang factory repairs under siya ng manufacturing overhead. Entry would be, since nag-increase si manufacturing overhead and ang increase sa kanya ay on the debit side. So we debit manufacturing overhead. $10,000. Credit accounts payable 10,000. Let's write a description to record factory repairs. And then i-post natin sa T account. So manufacturing overhead on January 13. There's a debit of 10,000. Let's write the reference number 104. Accounts payable, January 13. There's a credit of 10,000. Then once posted, lagay natin yung reference number. For accounts payable, that is 201. January 15. Depreciation was recorded for the year, 2 million pesos. 70% for factory and 20% for selling, and then yung remainder, which is 10% for administrative. So let's record it. Yung depreciation na related sa factory, under siya ng manufacturing overhead. Entry, debit manufacturing overhead. Magkano siya? 70% daw. 2 million times 70%. Times 70%. 1,400,000. And then, yung natira na 30% for selling and administrative, recorded na lang siya under one account, depreciation expense. Equal siya sa 2 million times 100% minus 70%. Yung remainder is 30%. 600,000. Credit accumulated depreciation 2 million. Then post natin sa T account. But before that, lagyan natin ng description. To record depreciation for the year. So, sa manufacturing overhead on January 15, there is a debit na 1,400,000. Write natin yung account number niya for reference. 104. Depreciation expense. Wala pa tayong T account for that account title. So, lagyan natin depreciation expense and following yung order ng account number, ito ay magiging 305. Wala rin tayong accumulated depreciation. Dagdagan natin. Ang accumulated depreciation ay contra asset account. So, ang i-follow natin na account number para sa accumulated depreciation is dun sa hanay ng assets. 101, 102, 103, 104. Post na natin. Wait. 104 yung manufacturing overhead. So, ito dapat ay 105. So, depreciation, 305. Accumulated depreciation, 105. Ang next transaction is on January 25. January 25. Insurance expired during the year, 50,000 pesos. So, 70% for factory, yung remaining na 30% for selling and administrative. So, para dun sa related sa factory, yan ay charge sa manufacturing overhead. So, debit manufacturing overhead amounting to 50,000 times 70%, 35,000. Debit insurance expense. Para to dun sa selling and administrative portion. Amounting to 50,000 times 30%. 15,000. Credit accounts, ano? Sabi dito sa transaction, expired insurance. Ibig sabihin, previously, meron nang na-set up na prepaid insurance account. So, instead na accounts payable to, dapat ang credit mo is yung asset account na prepaid insurance. The credit prepaid insurance. $50,000. Then, post natin sa T accounts. For manufacturing overhead on January 25, there's a debit amounting to 35,000. Insurance expense. Wala pa tayo nitong T account. Let's set up. Following yung account number sa expenses, ito na ay magiging 306. Then, prepaid insurance. This is an asset account. So, magiging 106 na siya. Post na natin. For manufacturing overhead, na-post na natin siya. So, write na lang natin yung reference number, which is 104. Insurance expense. Look, yung depreciation expense and accumulated depreciation natin na T account, wala pang laman. So, nalagay na natin yung account number pero nakaligtaan natin siyang i-post. So, be careful sa pag-journal entry and pag-post. Always check whether na-complete nyo yung process of journalizing and posting. Depreciation expense, January 15. Meron siyang debit. 600,000. Then, lagay natin yung reference number. 305. Accumulated depreciation, January 15. May credit siya na 2 million. Then, continue tayo dun sa January 25 ulit. So, insurance expense, January 25. Merong debit na 15,000. And then, prepaid insurance on January 25. Meron siyang credit na 50,000. Let's write a description to record expired insurance. January 26. Manufacturing overhead was applied to production. Total machine hours worked during the year was 55,000 machine hours. So, nag-applied na ng manufacturing overhead. Pag nag-apply ka ng manufacturing overhead, mapupunta siya sa work in process and then i-credit mo naman si manufacturing overhead account. Pero bago yun, computein muna natin yung overhead rate. Magkano yung overhead cost per hour, per machine hour? So sabi dito, the company estimated that it would work 50,000 machine hours and incur 3 million pesos. Para makuha natin yung overhead rate, divide natin yung 3 million by 50,000. Lagay natin overhead rate. Factory overhead rate. Equal siya sa 3 million divided by 50,000. Let's check. 50,000 machine hours, 3 million pesos manufacturing cost. So siya ay 60 pesos per hour. Per machine hours. Compute na natin. Yung in-apply na manufacturing overhead, matatransfer siya sa work in process account. So debit work in process inventory amounting to, on January 26, ang total machine hours is 55,000. So equal to 55,000 machine hours times yung overhead rate na 60 pesos per machine hour. So 3,300,000 credit manufacturing overhead. $3,300,000. Let's write a description to record factory overhead applied to production. Post natin, work in process may debit na 3,300,000 on January 26. $3,300,000. Then yung reference number. Wait, look sa January 25. Na-post natin siya sa T-account pero hindi natin nalagay yung account number as reference. So, kumpletuhin muna natin January 25. January 25, insurance expense, account number 306, prepaid insurance 106. Work in process 102. Then, manufacturing overhead on January 26. Meron siyang credit na 3,300,000. 3,300,000. Account number niya is 104. Next, January 27. Goods costing 3 million pesos were completed during the year. So, para sa mga completed goods, mapupunta naman siya sa finished goods inventory. And mawabawasan naman yung work in process. Since finished goods is an asset, and ang increase sa asset is recorded on the debit side, then on January 27, we debit finished goods inventory, ₱3,000,000. Then we credit work in process inventory, ₱3,000,000. Let's write the description to record completed goods during the month. And then let's post it. 3,000,000 for finished goods, debit. January 27, 3,000,000. Ang account number ng finished goods is 103. Work in process, may credit siya na 3,000,000. So on January 27, credit for work in process, 3,000,000. Write natin yung kanyang account number sa reference, 102. And then yung last transaction, January 29. Sold goods on account at selling price, 6,000,000 pesos. The cost of this good was 2,000,000 pesos. So una muna, record natin yung sales. Sabi, sales daw siya on account. So meron kang receivable. January 29, debit accounts receivable. Ang accounts receivable is an asset account. And so ang increase sa kanya recorded on the debit side. So debit accounts receivable. $6,000,000. Credit sales, 6,000,000. And then, record natin yung cost ng goods na nabenta. But before that, let's write a description to record sales for the month. And then, the same sa January 29, meron pang additional na entry for the cost of goods sold. We debit cost of goods sold. Binigay yan sa atin sa January 29, which is 2,000,000. The cost of these goods was 2,000,000. Credit mo si finished goods. Inventory. $2,000,000. Na-credit si finished goods kasi sa kanya manggagaling yung ibebenta na product. Ang ibebenta mo lang na product is yung completed na, which is under finished goods. Then let's write the description to record cost of goods sold. And then post na natin siya sa the accounts. Accounts receivable, wala pa tayo nitong T account, so maglagay tayo. And then following yung asset na account number, si account receivable siya ay 107 na. 107. Wala rin tayong T account for sales. Ang expense nagsimula sa series ng 3. So, si sales naman, simulan natin siya sa series ng 4. So, 401. Cost of goods sold, it will follow the expense series. 306 yung pinaka-last. So, siya ay 307 na. Then, post na natin. January 29, merong debit sa accounts receivable na 6 million. Write natin yung account number 107. Sales naman, may credit na 6 million. Write natin yung reference 401. Cost of goods sold, may debit na 2 million. Reference number is 307. And then finished goods, merong credit on January 29. 2 million. Ang account number niya 103. So reference number 103. So after ng posting sa T-accounts, kunin na natin yung mga balances na bawat account. Ang balances niya may be debit balance or credit balance. Depende kung anong side yung mas malaki. Simulan na natin for raw materials inventory. Kunin natin yung total. For the debit side, that is 3,150,000. Credit side, 2 million. Mas malaki yung debit side sa credit side. So, meron tayong debit balance na subtract natin siya dito. So, 3,150,000 less 2 million, we get a debit balance of 1,150,000. Ito yung iyong raw materials inventory end. Sa January 31, ito yung kanyang balance. Work in process naman, $5,700,000. Then, ang kanyang credit balance is 3 million. Mas malaki si debit kaysa sa credit. So, meron tayong debit balance. Less natin yung credit na 3 million. We get 2,700,000. Next naman is finished goods. Total is 3,200,000. Then, ang total credit balance is 2 million. Mas malaki si debit kesa sa credit. So, meron tayong debit balance. Let's compute. So, 3,200,000 less 2 million equals 1,200,000. Ito yung iyong finished goods inventory end. Accounts payable. Puro lang siya credit, so malamang meron lang tayong credit balance. So, January 31, total natin yung credit side niya, 3,580,000. Next naman is manufacturing overhead. Let's get the total. $3,445,000. And then sa credit side, meron ng iisang entry, 3,300,000. Mas malaki si debit kaysa sa credit. So we have a debit balance. Less 3,300,000. On January 31, ang kanyang balance ay $145,000. Yung credit side, it refers to the applied manufacturing overhead. Yung sum naman ng debit side na 3,445,000, yan yung actual factory overhead. Since yung actual factory overhead is greater than the applied factory overhead, meron tayong under-applied na factory overhead. So for number 3, determine whether the manufacturing overhead was under-applied or over-applied. Ang sagot natin is under-applied, amounting to 145,000. Magkano yung under-applied na yun? 145,000, and then nire-require niya tayo na gumawa ng journal entry para i-close sa cost of goods sold. So yung debit balance ni manufacturing overhead, i-credit natin siya. And then i-debit natin si cost of goods sold. So let's write the entry. End ng January, which is January 31, entry would be debit cost of goods sold equal to sa under-applied, which is 145,000. Credit si manufacturing overhead. $145,000. Lagyan natin ang description. To close under-applied factory overhead to cost of goods sold. Then, post natin siya sa T-account. For cost of goods sold on January 31, merong debit na 145,000. For manufacturing overhead naman on January 31, may credit na 145,000. So, accordingly, kapag kinuha mo ulit yung total nito, magiging equal na siya. And ang balance niya will be 0. Then, lagay natin yung January 31 na credit, 145,000. 0 siya at the end of the month. Burayin na natin yung under-applied dito. Salaries and wages payable, nawala yung pinost natin na credit side, balik na lang natin. Yun ay January 5. So, January 5, meron dapat diyang credit na 3,900,000. So, 3,900,000. Since wala naman ibang entry sa debit side niya, malamang ang meron siya is credit balance at the end of the month. $3,900,000. Sales commission, 600,000. January 31, call siya sa 600,000 debit balance. For administrative, debit balance na 1,500,000. For sales travel expense, debit balance na 50,000. For advertising, 20,000 na debit balance. Depreciation, 600,000 na debit balance. And for accumulated depreciation, credit balance na 2 million. Insurance, debit balance na 15,000. Prepaid insurance, credit balance na 50,000. For accounts receivable, debit balance siya na 6 million. Wala namang posting sa credit side. So, 6 million na debit balance. For cost of goods sold, meron tayong debit balance amounting to 2,145,000. While the credit balance for sales would be 6 million. We're done from requirement number 1 to requirement number 3. So now we will prepare na yung income statement. Yun din yung dahilan kung bakit kinuha natin yung mga balances ng T accounts. Last requirement is the income statement. Let's start with the heading. Name of the company sa first line. Ang name ng company sa example natin is Jade Company. So, Jade Company. Next line is the title of the statement. That is income statement. Followed by the period covered. So, for the month ended January 31, 2021. We'll start with sales. So, kunin natin yung balance ng sales mula sa ating T account. So, yun ay sales 6 million. Less cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold. Kunin din natin yung balance ng cost of goods sold. Yan ay 2,145,000. Then, after deducting the cost of goods sold from sale, we get the gross margin. You can also call this as gross profit. Pwede rin. So, 6 million minus 6 million minus 2,145,000. We get 3,855,000. Then less operating expenses. When we say operating expenses, we are referring to selling and administrative expenses. So ano-ano yung mga expenses na yon? We have sales commission expense. Ang balance niya at the end of January is 600,000. Administrative salaries expense, 1,500,000. Then sales travel expense, balance niya at the end of the month is 50,000. Advertising expense, 20,000. Depreciation expense, 600,000. Insurance expense, 15,000. So that's all for operating expenses. Let's get the total. Total operating expense would be $2,785,000. And then once we deduct this operating expense from gross margin, we will get the net operating income. So 3,855,000 minus 2,785,000. We get 1,070,000. So for the month ending January 31, Jade Company was able to generate a net operating income of 1,070,000.